Welcome to the Prophecy Club. This might be the shortest program I have ever done in 30 years of doing these programs. Topic is to give or not to give. I got this email, as you can see, June 15th. I just noticed Henry Gruber video and I'm delighted that you posted it. Here's why. I watch your programs religiously, but since they don't get posted in the early morning hours, it's not good for my health to stay up between the wee hours to see the next video. When I was on travel, parenthesis, I recently spoke at a conference in a distant state, I got behind watching videos and it was actually good for my health. I'd look at the titles using the hotel business center computers, but that's all I had time to do while on travel. Thankfully, the titles were enough information for me to get some idea of what I had missed without watching the videos. When I returned from travel, I started getting caught up, latest to the earliest, and I realized that this was easier on my health to be behind because I had something to watch every day. Weekends are actually a disappointment because in the past you wouldn't post on the weekends, but when you post the archived videos that are long, I've got plenty of material to keep me busy until the next week without having to stay up late to get the very latest. Sometimes I feel bad that I'm getting so much material from you without sending you any money, but I assure you that if my financial situation changes, I will remember what I got from your ministry and try to be more generous. I emailed back and I said, Andre, I thank you for your kind words. However, I have a doctrinal point. We do not give out of our abundance. We give out of our first fruits. Meaning, the Bible teaches the first 10% before we get even food for ourselves, we give to God from whom all things come. That is a requirement. If you want blessed, you give above that, putting others' needs ahead of your own. If you continue to give, or not give as you have, you'll continue, as in always, to be in need, and your situation will never change. Here's the fix you're in. Now, in the eyes of God, you owe Him much in past giving. Now you'll be forced to give out of your first fruits and catch up before you begin to see much in returns. At least that's my experience. The reason Jesus told Peter if he would not allow him to wash his feet, Peter's feet, he would have no place with him. In eternity, we always give to others before we give to ourselves, and always put others ahead of ourselves. And this was his response back to me. Thanks, I totally agree with you and wonder why I had never seen it like that before. That's how you spell joy. Jesus, others, and you. And I thought that was interesting, so I thought I'd put it out for you. I also looked up a couple of scriptures. 6 days shall work be done, but on the seventh day is the seventh day of rest. At holy convocation you shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Now, this is the point. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons, in the 14th day of the first month. At even is the Lord's Passover, and on the 15th day of the month, the same month, is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord 7 days. Now let's skip to the next point. The point I want to make here is in the red. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land when I give you, you shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits. Now, that's always been my understanding. In other words, if I'm like for example, one of the things that I do is give. I won't tell you where I give, what I give, or anything about it. Bible says the right hand's not supposed to know what the left hand does. But I send it out on the 25th of the month in a mailed paper check because I want to make certain it reaches the destination before the first of the month, because I want that to be the first check. My first thing I do every month in the ministry is to give, okay? You shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest, not the second fruits, not when you did get around to it fruits, not, if you have an extra fruit, okay? First fruits goes to God. At least that's my understanding. And you shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow. After the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Meaning, the Lord, here you go. I'm giving to you first. A couple more points. Now let's jump to the New Testament for those that might be saying, yeah, well, that's the Old Testament. Okay, well, here it is in the New Testament. I'm not going to give you some of the normal verses that say, give this, okay. I think you'll get the point. And Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury. And many that were rich cast in much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. And he called unto his disciples, and said unto them, Verily, I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than they which have cast in into the than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living. Okay, that tells me that she's given to the Lord first, and she's given to others first, and she, even though she is a widow, she's putting others first. That's what God wants in our giving. Here's another example, the last example. It's going to be a real short program. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, okay, so now he knows that Jesus has all things in his hands, and that he was come from God and went to God. He rises up from supper, laid aside his garments, took a towel, and girded himself. After that he poured water into a basin, began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Then cometh he to Simon Peter, and Peter said unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Jesus answered and said unto him, What I doest thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. Peter said unto him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. Simon Peter said unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Why did Jesus wash the feet of his disciples? Okay, so Jesus knew that the Father had given him, as it says, all things. Yet he was willing to get on his knees and wash his disciples' feet, because in the kingdom of heaven, that's what we do for all eternity. We treat others as we want to be treated. We put others first. And that's a lesson I'm still trying to learn myself. I tend to, my wife will tell you, I think of myself first. And so I'm working on that. But in heaven, in eternity, when we can finally live correctly and perfectly, that's what we do. We put others first. So let me just say, in your giving, you want to give to God first.